Good evening and welcome to another edition of You and Your Money. I'm Bryan. This evening we are focusing on short-term insurance. There is no doubt that many people view their short-term insurance premiums as what we call a grudge purchase. There's also a common perception that submitting a claim will inevitably lead to frustration and delays in getting it settled. Some may recall IGR's well-known motto from the 70s, "We don't hassle, we pay claims." And over the time, this slogan was jokingly twisted into "we do hassle and we don't pay claims." However, this perception should be dispelled. Over the years, the establishment and evolution of the National Financial Ombud Scheme, which now deals with both short-term and long-term insurance disputes, has significantly improved fairness and accountability within the industry. And joining the team, great to have Adit Teixeira-McKinnon, Lead Ombud of the Non-Life Insurance Division of the National Financial Ombud Scheme, South Africa. Adit, good to have you on the show once again. We're coming to the end of the year. Can you believe it's already November? Since we last chatted in June, just give me some information. Firstly, I just want to first deal with first-time viewers. Many of our viewers who are regulars know about the Ombuds Office, but just for our first-time viewers, just give us a brief update and understanding of what your office does and how it helps disgruntled claimants.
So our office deals with complaints by complainants against financial institutions. We act as an independent alternative dispute resolution forum, providing services to try and resolve complaints that complainants haven't been able to resolve, or consumers haven't been able to resolve directly with their financial institutions. So we always encourage consumers to approach their financial institution if they've got an issue, to try and resolve the issue first. But if they can't, then they're welcome to approach us. Our services are free to consumers, and the financial institution pays the case fee that is levied against them.
What's the last quarter like in terms of recovery for individuals who were disgruntled and felt that claims had been settled, and maybe just for the year so far?
So the NFO as a whole has almost recovered the same amount that they recovered or put back into the pockets of consumers that approached us for assistance, which is approaching them around 300 million rand that the NFO has been able to assist consumers with. Obviously, those are not edited or not audited at this stage, but that's the unofficial recovered figure year to date.
See, that's an enormous amount of money where you think that individuals had claims weren't settled, came to your office, and that's only a percentage of totals repudiated by insurers. What sort of percentage is that?
I think we receive less than 10% of complaints in the industry across all the financial sectors. So the majority of complaints go directly to the financial institutions to resolve, and around 10% of all complaints in the industry then end up at the Ombudsman's office. So we really are just a very small percentage of complaints that the industry deals with.
Edith, can you categorize any in particular, any maybe two or three that are glaring?
So in the non-life division, the short-term insurance area, what we're seeing more of are homeowners or complaints related to homeowners insurance, and a decline in complaints related to motor vehicle insurance. So that's a very interesting change for us. Traditionally, motor vehicle insurance complaints constitute around 50% of all these complaints, but since COVID, motor vehicle insurance complaints have been on the decline and homeowners insurance complaints have been on the increase. And that's the latter obviously related to climate change events, storms, tornadoes, just weather-related incidences that have become more prevalent in South Africa, more frequent and more severe incidents leading to claims.
And I would imagine on the homeowner's side, that's because lack of maintenance on property.
So it's a combination of, yes, an insured peril did take place. There was a storm, but not all the damage. Once the insurer investigates and assesses the claim, there's a lot of dissatisfaction from consumers around the fact that not all the damage is then going to be covered by the insurer, because they've been able to determine through expert assessment and reports that not all the damage was caused as a result of the storm. Definitely aspects of maintenance or lack of maintenance, damage that has occurred gradually that hasn't been attended to by policyholders. So that's where the dissatisfaction comes in. Then our job is to really analyze, is the insurer correct in either rejecting the entire claim or a portion of that claim?
I would imagine that underinsurance must also play a part in your house owners, particularly where one has a bond with a financial institution and maybe isn't keeping up to date with current values of replacement.
Correct, and that's usually when there's a total loss, right? And then you look at what the sum insured is, what is the property insured for, what is the actual replacement value of that property, and we see a lot of cases where people are unhappy because the insurer is now only paying a portion of the claim as opposed to the entire claim, and they apply what is called average to that claim.
Because, if you think about the market, particularly in Johannesburg and other parts other than the Cape, maybe in Schlanga and places like that, property prices have been falling all the time. But that's not the price you must insure your home for, not the fact that there's a market price. Exactly what will it cost to replace? And they always talk about including fixtures and fittings. And sometimes fixtures and fittings can play a very big, significant part.
Absolutely, and a lot of people also rely on the municipal value of their property to benchmark the sum insured against that, and that's usually undervalued. It really is, how much is it going to cost to build my house from scratch, and that's the value that one needs to insure for.
And we talk about insurance for the catastrophe.
Exactly.
Insuring your home is catastrophe.
Yes.
You lose a laptop or a cell phone, not a pleasant event, but it's not a catastrophe.
No.
But your house burns down, it is a catastrophe. So let's just understand, every insurance office has an ombudsman office, I would imagine. Most of them do. Why do they think so differently to you when it comes to a claim? How come they can't solve the dispute? It gets referred to you, and then you making recommendations, which I would imagine many of them accept.
So in the short-term insurance industry, it has been a requirement for many years now that each financial institution have what they refer to as an escalation process for complaints. They're not actually allowed to be called ombuds. Only office that can be called ombuds, with ombuds working and making decisions, is a recognized financial ombud scheme as recognized by the Ombud Council, but they're supposed to have alternative dispute forums or processes built into their claims process. So most of the members of our office do. Obviously, fairness and equity is not always easy to understand. And unless you've worked in an ombuds environment and you've got that experience, you're not always going to be able to understand and apply that. It could also be the fact that they don't have the mandate to apply fairness when they're making decisions, especially at claim stage. And only once it gets escalated further up do elements of fairness and equity come into play. We have seen that most members of our office have tried to apply fairness and equity apart from the contract to decisions, and a lot of the times they have made the right decision. The complainant, the consumer, is the one that's still not happy and then refers it to our office. So it's not as if insurers get it wrong all the time. In fact, in the main, their decisions are correct. It's about 20% of cases where we can come to the assistance of the consumer and find in their favor, either wholly or in part.
Well, you mentioned a figure of 300 million.
Yes.
And now you're mentioning 20%.
Yes. So 20% in favor of complainants translates to a recovered amount of around 300 million.
So that's a lot of claims unpaid. And that's why you hear consumers being often so disgruntled. Talk to me about, one of the stumbling blocks, obviously, I would imagine, is proof of ownership.
Yes.
Is that now become a big play? I mean, I'm seeing all these comments in the press, proof of ownerships, warranties, all these things. Let's just talk about, firstly, proof of ownership.
So what complainants or what policyholders, insureds don't often realize is it's not just a case of, I've had a loss, the insurer must now settle. As with any claim, you have to prove your loss and the quantum of your loss. Now, in some cases, the industry assists consumers, assists the policyholder by appointing assessors, loss adjusters to quantify. But ultimately, it is the policyholder's responsibility to prove not only that they've had a loss or damage, but what is that loss? How much is it? And it becomes quite tricky when you're dealing with with household contents, with jewelry, out of home items or risks items. People don't keep proof, they don't keep a paper trail, although nowadays this is becoming easier. A lot of stuff can be stored electronically, so you don't have invoices that fade with time, that become illegible at claim stage. But ultimately, it is the policyholder, it is the insured's responsibility to prove their claim. And there's no obligation on an insurer to assist, but in a lot of cases, for example, motor vehicle claims, they will send out an assessor to assess the damages, and they do provide that service to policyholders.
Adita, are you getting problems? You said motors dropped off complaints, but are you getting problems where insurers want to write off cars at close to what they consider write-off value, whereas if you think about it, to an older person, the value of that car, rather than replacing it. I mean, I've got clients who are driving in the 80s. As a matter of fact, a client of mine of 95 is so excited. She just bought a new car and she got a 7-year warranty. Lovely to hear. So, but I mean, that could be a problem, couldn't it be? Because I don't want my car written off because it's so valuable to me, and to go and replace it cost me a few R100,000 more.
So a lot of the quantum disputes.
Okay, we're going to have to deal with that. We're going to have to take a break. I see in the background my producer letting me know. Stay tuned. We'll be back shortly.